Okay. Hi, my name is Alexis Rodriguez, and this is my second time recording this. Hopefully this one will stick. Um, but I will be presenting the topic of mail order brides in regards to human trafficking. So, should love be for sale? Mail order brides is a bride, a woman, a potential bride who is being sought out by a man from typically Western countries. This is done through international marriage agencies that claim their services are along the lines of online dating, where their purpose is to connect men and women into marriages. The controversy that comes with mail order brides is the expectation of marriage. In marriage, there are duties that are owed by the parties, and in this patriarchal world, it is mostly the duties of women that are set to fulfill. In the vows, in common vows in marriages, is the vow to honor and obey your husband. Marriage comes with duty such as domestic servitude, cleaning, and serving the man. And it also comes with the duty of sex. Sex is expected after marriage and is morally acceptable in a lot of civilizations once marriage is uh, set in stone. So, since these international agencies claim that they are very similar to online dating services, let's look at the similarities between the two. On the left, we see the common platforms of online dating apps, such as meeting new people. This includes your profiles that you get to post of yourself and get to seek other people's with. There's join live mixers, which are ways that you can communicate through the online services provided. Then there's set up real dates, which is the way that you can communicate and make this online conversation into a real life date that you get to meet in person. And then there's find your match, which is the process of finding someone that has similar interests and attraction through photos as you and locations and somewhat and such forth. For mail order bride costs, there is the same inclusion of online dating experience as this, but there are there are a few more steps involved, such as real life dates, which again comes with the online. Um, and because mail order brides are usually and are from two different countries, there are tickets and travel costs. Then, if this woman who is a non-citizen decides to stay in the Western country of the man that lives there, there are visa and moving expenses, and then there will be a wedding involved. So there are a lot more steps and services provided by mail order brides cost. So those are the two set out and platforms that we see between the two. Now let's look at some of the differences that come with the two, and such as intention. While online dating comes with the expectation and intention of romance, getting to find someone that you have interest with and maybe compatible and convenient for you, and it has the intention of going on a real life date and also of being able to say whether you do like this person or not. Mail order bride platforms come with the intention of marriage. Part of the duties of marriage means sex. So there is an intention of getting a mail order bride. It does come with the intention of sex, as that's something that comes from marriages. And it comes with also the intention of marriage. And marriage is found by most cultures to be a forever soul tying event. So the intentions are for a long term, as the intention with dating might not be for a long term commitment. Next, we have the profiles. On online dating apps, the profiles are posted by both people seeking a relationship, whether that's man and man, woman and woman, non-gender with non-gender, or man and woman. So everyone has a profile on there. If you want to seek other people, there will be a profile provided for you to put your common interest and pictures of yourselves and quotes or anything that you're interested in, as well as the person you're seeking, they will have a profile for you to see. That is not the case with mail order brides, where women are the only ones with profile. So it is the man that gets to look at the woman's profiles that includes pictures and ads on the women and gets to set out who they want to choose to spend forever with. The men do not have a profile. They have a membership where they have the access to see these women profiles, but they do not have to have a profile of their pictures, of their interests, or anything of the like. They get to choose the woman, and the woman gets to communicate with them if they would like. Now, there's a power imbalance between the two, the online dating app and mail orders. But online, they there is less of a power imbalance as they try to connect you on things such as similar interests, similar age range, similar location, so that no one is so that this compatibility is at convenience for each other, and it's not really of one person spending more money, such as traveling from this one country to another or anything. They try to match you on convenience and compatibility. Well, that is not the case. And oh, also in dating apps, both people get to choose and both people get to reject. While with mail order brides, it is the male consumer that has the power to select the partner. They get the power to legalize the marriage. They arrange the international travel, and they're the ones that get to respond to extensive immigration requirements, which leaves the women in these arrangements significantly dependent on their partners throughout the process, creating a power imbalance. Next, we have cost. Most online dating apps are free, and you can pay for like different services. But for the most part, most dating apps are free. There's no membership cost. And yeah. However, with mail order brides, there are a lot of costs because there are more services provided. There's the membership cost, there's the cost of gifts, the cost of dates, the cost of tickets and travel, the cost of visa and processing these the women from one country to the other, and the cost of a wedding ceremony. And then the values too are different as on online dating apps. The value is to be matched with someone of similar interest, and for you guys to both be single, that's a value, and to both be seeking someone with similar interests. While the values that come with mail order brides is family expectations and the expectations of the wife, of the woman, what it means to be a woman and what it means to be my wife, as I am seeking you through a mail order bride. So the values are different, as there's a more values and duties set on marriage as there is in online dating service. So now here's a video that introduces us into the internet brides from the male perspective.
There are 21 men on this tour. Most of them asked us not to show their faces, and all of them began this journey with a single mouse click. LoveMe.com is the internet's largest international matchmaker, run by a company called A Foreign Affair. They sell access to thousands of women around the world and take a fee for every flirty email, every interpreted phone call. But for the man who wants to move beyond pen pals, there is this. A Foreign Affair. The promotional video sells a fairy tale just waiting for any guy willing to fly to a third world country.
San Jose, Costa Rica. Meeting beautiful women. Is this a dream? Or is it possible?
At the moment, A Foreign Affair's favorite hotspot is Ukraine. Legend has it there is a serious guy shortage in this former corner of the Soviet Union, leaving hordes of young women pining away for mature, loving Western men. Guys just like Bob Ray.
I like being married. I really do. Dating is fine, but you get to a certain age and it gets a little old.
After his divorce, the former college professor hasn't had much luck in his hometown of Harrisburg, PA, especially while raising two kids alone. He tried eHarmony and Match.com, finally decided to expand his search overseas.
I'm not saying anything against American women because I have a wonderful daughter. She's beautiful. But the point is this is not a very big town. And everybody's married. First of all, I'll show you Ruslana.
After striking up online correspondence with a few dozen women,
her name is Alla. She is the right age.
And hiring a Russian tutor,
Kakdala, that's how you doing.
Bob packs his bags for the most ambitious trip of his life. After a 15-hour flight, the romance tourists touch down and check in, full of jet lag and nervous excitement.
Already got a message. I'm excited.
There are binders of women to browse, dates to arrange, and since few will speak English, interpreters to meet.
My name is Marina, and I'm here to help you find your mom.
First of all, I want to welcome you guys.
That is John Adams, the man behind this whole endeavor. He is the founder and owner of A Foreign Affair, and every chance he gets, John uses himself as an example of what's possible.
When I saw Tanya, it was just like lightning struck. It was just the most amazing thing.
John met his wife on a romance tour of Russia. And 14 years later, they have two kids and a house in the Phoenix suburbs. All this can be yours, he tells his clients, if they play it smart.
Woohoo, that was good.
Don't fall for the first one to bat her eyes, he warns, and meet as many women as you can. And this will be easier than any imagined because A Foreign Affair is constantly refreshing their menu with women who aren't hung up on age or cultural gaps.
If I met the right guy from America or another country, and if I like him, I will marry him. Yes, definitely.
The men arrange as many dates as they can fit into a day. Some are just a quick morning rendezvous over coffee. Others involve a stroll and a meal. Almost all include the English-speaking third wheel.
You're so tall. I'll stand on a chair. For a whole lifetime, I'll stand on a chair.
But through 3 socials in 3 cities, Bob and the men seem invigorated by the kind of female attention they haven't enjoyed since, well, ever.
Ask her if she wants to go to America. I'm gonna be in trouble.
I saw you
It's
last
a
night.
lot of fun. You saw me with a woman who was 5'9". I'm 5'5". A volleyball player, 22, and she didn't want me to come to this city. She wanted me to stay.
If you did bring the 5'9" 22-year-old volleyball player back to Harrisburg,
This is a fantasy, Bill, but go ahead.
what would people say? Or
They would think I was out of my ever-loving mind. She wouldn't be happy.
yeah.
She would not be happy.
So you're 65. How young is too young for you?
See, my daughter's 30, and she told me, you bring somebody younger than me home, I'm gonna shoot you.
While Bob keeps looking for someone more age appropriate, Danny, a Home Depot employee from Oregon, is certain he has found the one. What's her name?
Her name is Svetlana. I'm very excited. I haven't felt this way in years, so it's an amazing feeling to be maybe not so young and in love, but in love.
He's 47, she's 23, and they can barely communicate. But after one 4-hour date, he's ready to buy a ring. So what do you have in mind? You're not gonna go diamond, are you?
No, just a modest band that doesn't have a lot of flair to it, just a symbol of the commitment to the relationship.
What do you think?
Okay.
I was gonna hate this, yeah.
Now that we had kind of an introduction to what goes on of what the women and or what the men want, and an inside look on kind of the relationship and recruitment that goes down between the two, let's meet the brides. So these women are usually sought out from the three specific continents, uh, most popular Europe, Asia, and South America. If we jump into Europe, the two most popular country of women seeking out mail order uh, sites, and then the men where they look for in countries in Europe is Ukraine and Russia. Now, the advertisements that are posted by these dating sites include that European women are sexually refined and sophisticated, which is the appeal that these women bring uh, to European women. Asian women, so second, looking at Asia, the most popular countries that use mail order bride sites is China, Japan, Thailand, and the Philippines. These women are deemed as timid, gentle, and caring. They have ads included on these women, and that include charming and demure Oriental women that men dream of, as well as feminine, loving, loyal, and virgins. So that's the appeal for Western men of Asian women. And last, looking at South America, um, there are the most popular the countries that use these sites are Colombia, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and Brazil. And these women are seen as lively and glamorous, and that's the appeal of South American women. So the reason that men look at other countries rather than in their own Western countries is due to something that brokering agencies depict of American women in the scholarly article that I read, which is called Global Love for Sale. It included the brokering agencies had an assessment of why they think that Western men look for other women in other countries. And they said that they depict American women as selfish, career obsessed, possession focused, and unwilling to enter marriages that place their husband needs ahead of their own. Men described US women as spoiled, rotten, and lacking in family values. So now that we met the brides, let us meet the grooms. So this is just another picture of the assessment of the order bride cost and the cost that they have to put. This expands more on the cost of each part of the online dating arrangement all the way through the wedding cost. So the grooms are usually from Western countries. They are typically white and they're affluent enough to afford all of this, and typically more affluent than the women that they are seeking, which is part of their pull factor for these women seeking these marriages. They do not desire American women. That is why they are looking for women from other country, and they want love. They're pursuing love. They're here for marriage. They're tired of dating, as introduced in the video, and they want companionship through love. And typically, they are older men ranging from 30s to 60s, late 30s to late 60s. Now, is it human trafficking? So let's compare the definition of human trafficking to the definition of mail order brides. Note that human trafficking is defined as the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons by means of the threat, use of force, or other forms of coercion, of abduction, of fraud, of deception, of the abuse of power, or of a position of vulnerability, or of the giving or receiving of payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person having control over another person for the purpose of exploitation. While according to this scholarly article that I read, again, it's called Global Love for Sale. They talk about generally the term mail order bride is used in popular discourse to describe a woman who, with the help of an international marriage broker, the recruiter is the app, and the marriage broker is the one who gets them together, is connected to and corresponds with the man from another country, usually one presumed to be more affluent than her own, and then marries that man from that country. So, something that's important to depict and note here is that instead of the word wife, they use the word bride, which seems to be deliberately invoke an image of virginal, young, and inexperienced women, and it sets the stage for this male fantasy of domination. And furthermore, the word mail order implies a product purchased from a catalog, thereby suggesting that women are nothing more than passive commodities. So this word choice is altogether very implies the power imbalance there. Also, a lot of the statistics between mail order bride relationships include duties of forced sex, domestic servitude, abusive relation in the relationships, and these are common themes that are set in human trafficking as well. Also, there are imbalances such as economic power between the brides and the grooms, um, such as they're going to the man's Western country, something that he has knowledge of in this country, she doesn't. There's language barriers, economic, as he's the one with more money than her, which creates this imbalance of power, which can be exploited. Also, in human trafficking, there are deceptive promises of work. And in this way, the women can be deceived or can be seen as deceived by their access to opportunity. They might be thinking that, this is the only way out of their country and may take this on. And that could be a way of deception. And it's important to note that these women are selling their intimate and relational capacity that is being sold, and in a way they can be entering these arrangements of compelled servitude, which is basically the marriage that's promised in these mail order bride arrangements. So when we look at past approaches to combating these international relationships, mail order brides, there hasn't been much done to stop the mail order bride sites, because they are, again, they say that they are online dating sites and there's no law against that. However, there has been laws passed to combat the injustices that go on within these relationships. So how we see in 2005, the International Marriage Broker Regulation Act was passed, and this was enacted to address issues of domestic violence and abuse against non-citizens that are married or engaged to US citizens. So to address these issues, they just had it was just an act to address the issues of this and to enforce more of the law and regulations that go in to these marriages once they are already enacted. So then in 2008, they felt like they weren't doing enough. So they also commanded that citizenship and immigration services who did not have a mechanism in place to check all petitioners, they developed a mechanism to check for petitioner prior filings. So what this aimed to do is to make sure that petitioners who do want to engage and marry to non-citizens, they tried to create a mechanism that checked, does this person already have prior filings to this? So it's okay if they've done it once, but now they created a mechanism that, is this something that you're consistently doing, and should this be something we're aware of? So by 2012, the Computer Linked Application Management System claims includes an IMBRA related queries that allows adjudicators to check the claims for prior filings targeting petitioners. So now they set an adjudicator to see these prior filings and to assess whether this case should be of concern or if it's all right to go. So the evaluations of this is that human rights activists and legal experts highlight that regulations have limited impact on international marriage business and the outcomes of its services. However, this is a way to combat once the relationship is already set, but there isn't really much legislation that is implemented to prevent these mail order bride relationships. So, for policy changes that I suggest, I think we should focus on three aspects: legal legislation, cultural, and economic shifts. When we look at legislation, I believe that there should be heavy background checks from the countries that these men are coming from. I would think that the government should require that these agencies, these international marriage agencies, require heavy background checks that both the site has to look at and the government, if they could both work on that, as this is like an international issue. Also, these women coming over for these women coming over deserve rights in their transitional process. They deserve the rights. They deserve to understand their rights and to have be provided these rights as they are going to soon to become citizens. And I believe that we should have an adoption process in the way that the adoption process in the US of an adopting a child has a lot of steps and extensive interview process. The inquiry process, where the family is set off knowing the rights, uh, all of the implications that come with adoption. I believe that we should kind of implement a legal agency or legislation that kind of implies those same regulations with an international relationship is this is to happen. So I say that with step one should be that men and women receive a package of information of the woman's rights, the man's rights, and the legal consequences of the man or the woman if they go against or exploit the other, abuse the other, and such forth, and that these rights should be included in the woman's native language if so that she's able to understand. Also, I believe that the Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration, who is in charge of seeking the quality care for migrants, should be the ones to visit the prospective man before he meets the bride and assess him for criminal record checks, medical reports, and assessment of his views on marriages to see if he's a safe person to be accompanied with a wife. I also feel that third step should be that there's a relationship evaluation that the Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration can have like an online interview to see if these two do connect or if there's like a clear power imbalance, such as not understanding each other's languages, just to guarantee the safety for both parties involved. The fourth step could be placement once the woman does come to the US and if he does end up liking her and they get married. And I believe that the last step should be that there's checkups and that she's always being continued to know her rights and he's being continued to know the legal repercussions that come if anything is to become exploitive or abusive. So to prevent international these mail order brides, I believe that there should be a cultural shift. So we need to get rid of the gender roles in both Western countries and the countries that these women are coming from. We could do this by employing classes, um, kind of like unlearning classes of understanding that gender roles is a societal norm and it's not something that is innate by biology in any way or genetics, and that inequality is a big thing here, and equality is something that all like kids from every age should learn, and maybe we could get this going through the educational process, as I know culture might conflict with gender roles. However, this would be a start to understanding that. And in America, I think that it would be easier to employ this educational uh, unlearning of gender roles, so that these American Western men won't be so critical of American women and expecting of such submissive and women that they can dominate due to language barriers or economic imbalances. I also believe both countries that these women are coming from and that these men are coming from, such as the Western countries, the governments need to denormalize, or society needs to denormalize, and governments need to criminalize abusive relationships and exploitive jobs, in the way that abusive relationships seem to be not get too much criminalization, which makes these women think that it's okay and that she's gonna find that anywhere. So mail order brides, like that's a risk that she's willing to take. If we criminalize abusive relationships, this will just help women understand that this is not the norm and that you can expect better. Also, from a capitalism policy change that I would like to implement is obviously the gender wage gap. If women were allowed to make as much money and have as much access to opportunity to make money as men, I feel like this would definitely decrease the need for mail order brides for women seeking this, as she could make money in her own home country or make enough to leave on her own and explore the opportunities that may be found in Western countries that are not provided in her own. Also, we need to get rid of the capitalist idea that money can buy me anything, even in the way of commodification of women's bodies. The fact that we put a price on women's bodies is something that we need to get rid of, and we could do this by allowing more opportunity for money and getting rid of capitalistic values within the economy and into social parameters of the culture. And my last discussion questions include two, and these are two memes of the two people involved in the 90 Day Fiance TV show. My first question is, do you consider mail order brides more similar to human trafficking, arranged marriages, or online dating sites? Do you see similarities in all three? And my second question is, do you believe the concept of love, commodification of women, or misogyny is most responsible for the issue of mail order brides? Thank you for listening to my presentation.